Like that's the go ahead to start. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Wow, much better than the last one I was at. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Luke Strike. I'm from Okabena. Bill Strike, you've been getting all the emails from him. That's my dad. And he asked if I could give this devotion to you guys tonight. So, this is that. So just a couple of questions to start off the devotion. How many of you guys have gone to a gym? Nice. So why do you guys go to the gym? What's the point of going to the gym?
Look good in my Speedo.
Any other reasons?
That's pretty much it.
Just rehab, things to say. Wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking.
Get in shape.
Maintain and improve health, get in shape,
Burn off stress.
burn off stress. A very common theme in a couple of those is to build muscle, make yourself stronger, more fit. So how does the exercising process work? Like, if you just go to the gym and do the same thing every time, sure, you're gonna have a couple of results just because you're going to the gym, but after a while, you're just gonna level off. What is it that causes it to change over time?
Increasing weight or increasing reps.
Yeah, you've gotta increase the work that you're doing. So unless you do something that's more difficult than what you're already doing, you're not gonna get any stronger. So in a similar way, God works in our lives and tests our faith in that way. A great example of this is in the account in which God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. If I could get you all to open up to Genesis 22. So we're gonna read through this in a couple of different chunks. I'll ask somebody to read a section of verses. And while we're reading through this, I want you guys to imagine this as if God is almost like a personal trainer of Abraham. And he says, Abraham, we're going to go to the gym and we're going to work on this. And it's going to be difficult, but I know you can do it. And is everybody there? Sounds good. Can I get somebody to read verses 1 and 2? Go ahead.
Now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. Then he said, Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you.
So starting off here, God comes up to Abraham and he says, Abraham, we're going to go to the gym today, and this is what we're going to be doing. God comes to Abraham and he says, you're going to sacrifice your son. Now just for a little bit of context, all of you are probably familiar with the story of Abraham waiting for the promise of his son Isaac. He wasn't told that he would have a son until he was 75, and then at that point he had to wait until he was 100 until his son was actually born. So Abraham has put so much time and patience waiting for this child to come, and he's even tried other methods, like there was Hagar, in which he tried to procure a son that way, but God said, no, I'm going to give you a son by your wife Sarah. So in this, God is asking Abraham to give up his son, his rightful heir. Can I get somebody to read verses 3 and 4?
So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and his son Isaac. And he cut the wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went to the place from which God had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. You said verse 4?
Yep, verse 4. So how many of you guys, when you were in the habit of going to the gym, found going to the gym the most difficult part of the workout? Like if you worked out early in the morning, or even any time, just saying, oh, do I really want to go to the gym today? I'm already so tired from everything else that I'm doing, and I don't want to work out. So So sometimes that trip can be super difficult. But right here, we can see that Abraham, God tells Abraham, you're going to do this, and there's no hesitation from Abraham. It says, Abraham rose early in the morning and went and did what God told him to do. Can I get somebody to read verses 6 through 10? Oh, I skipped 5 on there. 5 as well, please.
Then Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you." And Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife. So they went both of them together. And Isaac said to his father Abraham, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." He said, "Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" Abraham said, "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering." So they went both of them together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son.
So Abraham has made it to the gym. He set up all the equipment. He has everything there. God is watching him as he goes through this. And Abraham does exactly as God has told him, down to the point. He doesn't falter. He doesn't doubt anything. It says Abraham just goes and he does it. He brings his son to the place that God tells him, and he stretches him out on the altar to sacrifice him. And it's that intense resolve that gets Abraham through. But it wasn't any trust that Abraham had in himself that got him through what God asked him to do, because Abraham wouldn't be able to do anything. We can read in Hebrews chapter 11, it's the Heroes of Faith chapter. It says that Abraham believed that even if he killed his son, that God would bring him back from the dead. So strong was Abraham's faith in God to bring him through what God had asked him to do. There were so many other times in Abraham's life where he decided not to put trust in God, but to put trust into himself. Like when he went down to visit Egypt, and he didn't trust God to protect him, but instead he lied to the ruler in Egypt and said that his wife was his sister and not his wife. Or the time when he believed that God wouldn't give him a son through Sarah, and instead decided to go into Hagar to create a son with her. So after all of these, Abraham has learned his lesson in not putting his trust into himself, but instead he's putting all of his trust into God. I'll read verses 11 and 12. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." He said, "Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." So Abraham has completed the workout. God comes up to him and he says, "Well done, you've done exactly what I wanted you to do. And you're done with the workout." But that's not the only, he finishes the workout, and that's not where God stops. God goes a step further, because Abraham was about to slay his son, but instead God provides a substitute. Can I get somebody to read verses 13 through 19?
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of that place, "The Lord will provide." As it is said to this day, "On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven, and said, "By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this, and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that is on the seashore. And your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." So Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham lived at Beersheba.
So God doesn't stop with Abraham and saying, well, Abraham finishes the work out that God laid out for him. But Abraham doesn't have to sacrifice his son. Instead, God provides for him a substitute, the ram caught in the thicket. And that substitute is something that we can all look at and see in Christ. Because we were, because God has given us his law, and that is what he has told us to do. And that's something that we can't do by ourselves. Instead, he has sent his son, and his son fulfilled everything in the law. So just as Abraham didn't sacrifice his son, instead God stepped in and said, you cannot do that, but I will do it for you because I love you. So in that way, God has given us his law and says, you should do the law, but he knows that we in our sinful hearts cannot. So instead, he sends his own son, and he fulfills the law for us on our behalf. So what is it that we can take away from the account of Abraham? Christ says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It's not our job to bear the burdens of the world. It's not our job to bear the weight of our sin. All of that belongs to Christ, and if we put our trust in him, then he will carry that for us, and we don't have to worry about it. So then what does Abraham do after God provides his substitute? He sacrifices the ram and he rejoices. And he says, the Lord will provide. In the same way, we too should rejoice in the knowledge of our forgiveness and salvation. And we have the hymn tonight. Is there music set up for the night, or stop the bell? Yes, 396.
That sin's wild ocean can